Hey, hi, how are you? Welcome. That's a great question. Really. Do fire extinguishers have a best before date? Now, this question was brought to us by a channel viewer, Maritza Vila. Maritza, I'm sorry in advance if I mispronounced your name. But either way, thanks for the question, Maritza, and a warm welcome to the channel. It's a good question. How often do fire extinguishers expire? Well, the truth be told, it isn't just one answer. It could be 5, could be 6, 10, or even 12 years. Or you may have the need for annual maintenance. In fact, most people, homeowners, businesses, organizations, etc., just think they're like pieces of furniture. Set them up and dust them off once in a while, and you're good to go. In fact, that couldn't be further from the truth, honestly. So, no, not an easy one-off answer. So let's dive into it and talk about fire extinguisher maintenance and how that fire extinguisher maintenance fits into your safety program. And if you stick around towards the end, I'm going to have a tip for you for around the home. Now, the question boils down to what type of fire extinguisher. If it's a wet chemical fire extinguisher, you're going to need to have it hydrostatically tested and recharged every 5 years. And that cycle repeated every 5 years.
That much?
Yes, test and charged every 5 years. This is due to the fact it's pressurized liquid in a steel container, essentially. Now, dry chemical fire extinguishers are different. They're good for 6 years before they need a recharge. And then, on the second cycle, they need to be hydrostatically tested in addition to that recharge. So, on the 12th year, you'll need to get it hydrostatically tested and recharged.
What is that exactly?
Oh, what? Hydrostatic testing? Okay. The principle is that pressure vessels need to be tested to ensure that they hold that pressure and they'll do it safely. So pressure vessels, pipes, or other pressure systems are tested by filling them full of a liquid, usually water, hence the term hydrostatic. And the water or liquid is usually full of dye so that the color will help to reveal leaks once the pressure vessel or the pipe is pressurized. But above all and beyond all, make sure that you abide by the manufacturer's direction for inspection and maintenance. Water-based extinguishers, though, are different. They're needy. They have an annual maintenance requirement every year.
Wow, Kevin, really?
Yep, every year. So really, though, unless you're just around wood and paper, you might as well stick with a good ABC fire extinguisher. Water-based extinguishers are just more of a pain than they're worth, in my humble opinion, such as it is. Okay, now, I know you're likely asking, what about the home? Well, that depends on you, I guess. Let me share some personal examples. Here you see a fire extinguisher at the Airbnb. Now, as you can see, it's still green in the charge zone, and flip it upside down and there's a date stamped on the bottom. It was manufactured in 2020. So I'm going to get it recharged in 2026 because it's kind of a commercial venture. I'm responsible for the safety of others, so I'm going to do the right thing. Now, on the other hand, here's one at our home. And see, still in the green, but it was manufactured in 2013. So yeah, I didn't notice that until I was ready to make this video. So it's going to be a trip to the hardware store or one of the local fire safety outlets for a recharge. Now, it's still good per se, but there hasn't been a recharge in the first 6-year period. So it's essentially the right thing to do. Now, the bigger question, I guess, is how does fire extinguisher maintenance fit into your safety program? Well, there's some components, and the good news is they follow your standard typical safety or risk management workflow. The first one is you're going to have a periodic inspection process. Now, the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, from which, incidentally, most fire protection legislation and rules across North America are derived from, says that it has to be monthly for a commercial establishment. Now, there's a link in the description for a short video on the monthly inspection. Ideally, the inspection process is well suited to the maintenance staff if you're so fortunate to have one. Now, if not, it also might be a good activity for the safety committee. You know, more hands make for lighter work and whatnot. Now, number 2 is, as with any inspection process, you have to have a corrective action methodology. How are you going to handle things like vandalized extinguishers, missing signage, defaced signage, etc.? If you haven't already, what you should do is see about setting up a maintenance plan for your fire extinguishers. And this brings me to number 3, which is exactly that, the maintenance plan. It needs to include the 5 and 6 year rotation for your extinguishers, or of course, if you have water-based ones, the annual thing. And ideally, you should have a process in place, a pre-built cycle where you can take extinguishers out of service to be maintained, but be replacing them with other full units so that you aren't being without protection. So there has to be some planning for a maintenance cycle and schedule. Now, that home safety tip I promised. You might recall how disappointed you were in me that fire extinguisher slipped through my scrutiny.
We are very disappointed.
Well, life gets in the way. It gets in the way of our best intentions. So whether you have a disposable fire extinguisher, and you can tell you have one of those because there's no recharge, charged, or overcharged indicator, it just indicates empty or full. And you need to check and see that status periodically. So what you need to do is create a landmark, a time landmark, if you will, where you can schedule some home fire safety maintenance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add fire extinguisher checks to my usual schedule that I have. And yes, there's a short video in the description on that as well. When we change our clocks, and that's what I'm going to do it. Spring forward, fall back, check the fire extinguishers. Now, those of you that are fortunate to live in a location where that idiocy does not take place, there's some other things that you could look at. Here's some ideas where you could create some other time landmarks. How about spring break and Labor Day? What about 2 significant birthdays that are 6 months apart? Or summer and winter solstices? Now, if any of you have another idea on periodic time landmarks, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to hear. And there's a bit more to fire safety at work and fire safety in your health and safety program. If you'd like to know more, leave me a comment. Leave me something in the comments and I would like to hear from you. But in fact, you might want to take a look at this video up here where I talk about fire safety fails and the solutions. Now, until we see each other again, and I really hope we do, remember, safety leadership doesn't necessarily come with a title. It's about leading by example, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. So provoke safety, okay? Take care. Bye for now. Oh, the lights. Bye.